So we've done a revolve and we've done an extrude, and now I'd like to kind of show you how to combine those two skills together in a single part. So let's create another new component. I'll just contract that lens ring here to clean up our tree, hit the S key for shortcut, we'll drop down and create a new part, and as always, click the front plane to tell SOLIDWORKS where to put that part. Now I'm going to click on the title of this twice, and we'll call this our focus ring. Once again, letters, numbers, underscores only, and hit enter. Now, I'm going to expand that down and cancel that default sketch and grab the right plane of that component. Not the right plane of any other component or the assembly, but of that component. Hit the X key to create a sketch. Now, I'm also going to look at this in section view as I work. So let's grab my section tool and click it. And then in the section 1 properties, I'm going to choose the right plane. And that's going to cut my part in half for me. Let's hit OK. Now I can see what I'm doing a little bit better as I design my focus ring. Now I'm going to head over to my Sketch tab and grab the Line tool. Now, one of the points I want to make in this video and in future videos in this series is that you don't need to know what you're doing before you do it in SOLIDWORKS. This is a really common myth, especially among Rhino users, that somehow in order to use SOLIDWORKS, you really need to know what you're building before you build it. And frankly, that's not true. So let's improvise a little bit. I'm going to design this a little bit differently than I've ever done it before. I'm going to grab my line tool and just draw something here. I don't know, something about like that. Come over here, and I'm just eyeballing this stuff into place. Mind you, I'm being very intentional about not knowing what I'm doing before I do it. So hopefully that works. And I'm going to come straight up here. How about just like so? And then all the way over to the front and snap to finish up that shape. And I'll hit the S key to drop my tool. Now I have made a mistake here, and I can just barely see it right here at the corner. I'm going to hit the G key on my keyboard to zoom in, and that'll actually allow me to zoom in to just one little place using a magnifying glass. And you'll see that I have a little stray line here. If you're using a Wacom tablet like I do, there's a good chance this is going to happen a lot, and this will cause problems with your SOLIDWORKS geometry. So be on the lookout for those. I'm going to click this and delete that extra little line so we don't have any extras. Then I'll hit the G key to go back to my normal view. Now I'd like to bow the top of this sketch a little bit, so let's zoom down here a little bit so we can see better. And the way to do that is to select this top edge. I want to get rid of it basically. So let's click it, and instead of deleting it, let's head up to this one called Construction Geometry. That's going to leave it in my sketch, but it's a dashed line that doesn't actually do anything. So if I try to use this sketch, it's going to ignore that line. Now I can go up to my Sketch tab and grab the 3-point arc. I'll click one side, click the other side, and then I can just choose an arc height. It doesn't matter how much, I don't know, something like so. I'll hit the Escape key to drop that tool, and click to drop all my selections. I'm going to zoom back here a little bit. And one more thing, let's go here and grab my center line tool once again underneath the line tool. Go to the left of my origin, drag straight across to the right, and click and escape to drop the center line tool. We'll head to our features, revolved boss, and hit OK. Now we're only seeing half of the model right now because our section view is enabled, so don't worry about that. Now let's say I want to make a change to this focus ring. There are a couple of ways that I could do that. Now it's really important, first of all, that we go to Features and make sure that that Instant 3D button is checked. That's going to make this a lot slicker. It's a lot easier to work with this geometry if that's checked. Then I can head to my Revolve feature here in the tree and expand that down. And one way to make changes to this would be to double-click on that sketch. Now the double-click trick only works if Instant 3D is enabled, so you'll have to keep that in mind. Then I can always just drag any piece of this to make a change to it, and you'll notice that the 3D geometry is updating in real time. This is something that you wouldn't be able to do in Rhino, for example. So I don't need to know what I'm doing before I do it. In fact, it's the opposite of that. It's very easy for me to make decisions on the fly about, just about anything having to do with this. Now if I want to change my arc height, I can just kind of drag that up and down, and when I'm done, I just exit my sketch again, and my new geometry is solidified into place. But that instant 3D thing is even cooler than that. Check this out. If I click this face and grab the green arrow, I can actually just change this directly, which is really nice. Grab this interior one, I can do the same thing here. Because the sketch allows those degrees of freedom, it's actually allowing me to make these changes on the fly as needed. Really, really cool stuff. Okay, let's turn off our section view, go back to an isometric view, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to head over to my appearances, go to my medium gloss material, plastics, and I'm going to grab a medium gloss green and drop that on this revolve and make the entire focus ring that color. Now let's head to a right view, and I'm going to grab the right plane and create a sketch and zoom in right up here to the top of my model. Then I'll grab my ellipse tool, and somewhere right about here, I'm going to create an ellipse that does something like this. Now, you can design this however you want to. I'm just going to create something that looks about right to me. This is totally eyeball work. Then I'll come over to my Features tab, and I'm going to do an extruded cut with the current sketch. Let's go back to an isometric view. And instead of blind just means go a given dimension. Instead of blind, let's go through all. That way I'll know that no matter how big or small this thing is, it just blasts through it all. Perfect. And then in direction 2, I want to go through all as well, and it should do that by default. Hit OK, and now we have a cut out of our focus ring that's kind of going to act like a little grip for us to grab. And finally, let's add the rest of the grips to this focus ring. I'm going to go to my linear pattern tools and drop that down and grab a circular pattern. Now in the Features to Pattern box, I'm going to grab the face of that extrude cut, and when I click it, SOLIDWORKS is going to interpret that and know that I'm choosing the extrude cut feature as my pattern feature. Then under parameters, I need a pattern axis. I'll choose that. Drop down here. And because our default templates have axes in them already, I can drop down my axes folder and find my Z axis. Perfect. Now I'll set my 360 degrees as my total angle, make sure equal spacing is checked, and I don't know, I think 7 or how about 8 of those looks perfect. Click OK, and now we have a completed focus ring. Nice. Let's exit that part, save our work.